Welcome again, and to those of you who are just joining us now, my name is Nayaswami Jaya, and I'm going to be speaking this evening on today's reading, and the title of our discourse is Be a Student of Life. And this reading is from the daily writings, Timeless Wisdom to Enrich Every Day, Living Wisely, Living Well by Swami Kriyananda. And today's reading: think of yourself as a student of truth and of life, never as anybody's teacher. If your duty in life is, in fact, to teach others, consider what a privilege it is to share with them what you've learned from life. Never feel that anyone owes it to you to accept what you tell them. A few centuries ago, there was a great saint in, I believe it was Bengal, and I'm sure many of you have heard of him, Ram Prasad. And Ram Prasad was a devotee of the Divine Mother, the Divine Cosmic Mother. And he has become famous because in his devotion to the Divine Mother, he wrote many chants and many songs that are still sung today. And there's a story from his life that he was a family man, householder, and he was working one day out in his fields, and he was singing to the Divine Mother because he had a great devotional heart. And he was singing to the Divine Mother, and his daughter comes up to him out in the field and says, "Daddy, what are you doing?" And Ram Prasad says, "Well, sweetie, I'm singing to my Divine Mother, but she's a naughty mother. She never answers me." And the little girl, his daughter, giggles and says sweetly, "Well, why, Daddy? Why do you keep singing to her if she never answers you?" And she skipped off. And Ram Prasad went about his day's work. And at the end of the day, when he went home, his wife was there. And he mentioned to her how their daughter had come out to the field and had spent some time with them. And his wife looked at him quite curiously and says, What are you talking about? Our daughter isn't here." And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Our daughter is completely on the far away on the other side of the village with some relatives over there, and that's where she's been all day. She hasn't been here at all." And Ram Prasad thought, and he realized in his devotion, the Divine Mother had come to him in the form of his daughter. And this was something that had happened in a number of different ways in Ram Prasad's life, that she would come to him because his eyes, and perhaps maybe we should say his heart, was open to be able to see the Divine Mother everywhere. Thousands of Vedas, as it says in one of his songs, thousands of Vedas do declare Divine Mothers everywhere. But blind eyes see the Divine Mother, see them all hiding everywhere. And this is how it is. You could say to our topic today, we want to be students of life, students of truth. And we look around and we're told truth is everywhere. It's right before our eyes, but people do not see what's right before their eyes. We have to have an openness of heart, an openness of our consciousness to be able to see reality as it is, to be able to see what is in front of us. Is that what we see, or do we see something else? I'd like to explore that. There's another story that I have told many times of the young boy and his grandfather. And the young boy and the grandfather are out walking one day, and the boy asks grandfather, he says, "Grandfather, how is it that you're so wise?" And the grandfather says, "Well, son, it's because I have made many wise choices in life." And the boy ponders that for a moment and then he says, "But grandfather, how did you make so many wise choices?" And the grandfather says, by making many, many unwise choices, many bad choices. And in a sense, isn't this the case? Is that for that person who learns their lessons in life, you come to those wise choices often by making many bad choices, because we're on a very long journey in this life, in this incarnation or the many incarnations, in our journey back to our divine home. And we pass through many, many lifetimes, and we have many, many lessons. But as Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, the purpose of this life is to be educated and to be entertained. But oh, how few are educated and how few find this life entertaining. And so it is with us as we go through life, and if we're wise, we learn. Or if we're wise, we learn our lessons, and then from that we go forward. If we're unwise, you could say that we're cast out into the school of hard knocks. As some of us go you might say, to the school to learn, and we graduate. But some people, they don't graduate. And what happens if you're a student who fails your classes? You have to repeat them again and again and again until finally you're qualified to pass out of that standard. And of course, you move to a higher standard and a higher standard after that. And so it is with us. We want to graduate from whatever level of understanding we're on now and to go on to the next level and not be cast out. Remember that story from the life, or from the autobiography of Yogi, where there's a disciple in the ashram, Sri Yukteswar Kumar, I believe. And the Kumar is there, and Swami Sri Yukteswar gives him charge of the ashram, and he's very proud, of course, of that appointment, and dominates over the other disciples. But then, as events would have it, he goes to Swami Sri Yukteswar and says he wants to go back to his village. And Swami Sri Yukteswar tells him, I don't think that'd be a good idea right now. But Kumar doesn't listen, and he wants to go, and he goes. And Sri Yukteswar just offered that very gently as a suggestion. But Kumar's not listening, and he goes. And then when he comes back sometime later, he's somewhat become a different person. He's fallen into bad habits. He's fallen into bad company when he went home. And Sri Yukteswar in tears goes to Paramahansa Yogananda, his disciple, and he says, I cannot bear to say it to him. You must say it to him that he must leave the ashram. He's no longer fit to be here in the ashram. His consciousness has been sullied to such a degree. And he says, the life itself must now be his guru. And this is the case. Life itself must be his guru, and life for us is our guru. You could say life is our guru always, but it's this school that we're in until we can graduate from it and learn the lessons of life. We don't have the ability to attract the higher knowledge. We have to be able to purify ourselves to be able to attract the blessings of the Guru. And once we have those blessings, just as that disciple had, that's a great step. And to be able to have that blessing of the Guru, who will be able to open up or give us the keys to be able to unlock that door within us. Well, we have to earn that. We have to earn that. And Paramahansa Yogananda, when he was speaking, he would say there are three kinds of students. You have those types of students where you come in the morning and they're sleeping in bed and you shake them and they wake up for a moment, or they don't even wake up. You can't rustle them. They're dead to the world, sleeping, no matter how much you shake them. And there's another kind of students. You come in and you shake them a little bit and they wake up, and as soon as you turn your back and go, they go back to sleep. And then there's that type of student that you come in and you wake them up and they jump out of bed and they get dressed and they're ready to go and they're awake and ready. And he says, that's the kind of students that I want. And this is what it takes. If we want to be a student of life, we have to be awake, and we have to realize that we are students and we have our duties, our lessons in front of us to be able to learn. We want to know the truth. A person that takes up the spiritual path on some deep level, that's what they're seeking. They want to know, what is the truth of this reality? What is the truth? And what is beyond the truth? How do I know that truth? Now, in the Bible, toward the end, when Jesus Christ is arrested and brought to trial before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor there, he's asked a question by Pilate. He's asked the question, he says, teacher, tell me, what is truth? And Jesus doesn't answer him. It doesn't say that in the Bible what he says. Probably because, one, it may be Pilate wasn't serious. He may have been sarcastic. Or on the other hand, no matter what Jesus Christ would have said verbally to him, he would not have understood. And in commentary to that, Paramahansa Yogananda said that that's a question that people often have. What is truth? What is truth? But it's not really, for most of us, the appropriate question. The real question we should be asking is, how do I know truth? What is it going to take for me to understand truth? Because we don't understand truth through the intellect. Yes, there's a certain aspect of truth there, but real truth is known by the awakened, intuitive insight that we gain from spiritual development, by meditation. As we inwardly develop and are given that sight, then inner sight, then we come to perceive truth. Truth is perceived directly, and when we can perceive it, then we know truth. So the question is, how do we know truth? Or you may even ask the question, why don't we know truth now? I remember a motion picture I saw some years ago. There was I won't tell you the whole story about it, but there was a dialogue between two characters in the story, and one of the characters feels that he's been lied to by the other, and he confronts the other fellow and says, I want to know the truth. Tell me, what is the truth? You've been lying to me. And the other fellow speaks back to him he says, truth? You want to know the truth? You can't handle the truth. And maybe some of you saw that movie, but that's true. Many people, you can't handle the truth. And we say back, of course I can. Of course I want to know the truth. Of course I can handle the truth. But can you? Can you? And Paramahansa Yogananda mentioned that most people right now, they come to him and they wanted samadhi. They wanted divine vision. And he says, I cannot give that to them because they couldn't handle that. They're not ready for it. They are not ready, as he said, for the shock of omnipresence. Very few can handle that. One has to make oneself ready to be able to receive that, because we're comfortable in the delusions in which we live. We like those delusions. We like the falsity that we have. We're comfortable with it, although there's something within us that is wanting to penetrate that, to go beyond that. And if we're going to become students of truth, if we're going to become students of life, perhaps one of the first things we must do is remove those things that are obscuring that truth. And this is the practice of yoga. This is why we practice Kriya. This is why we meditate. This is the goal, to remove those veils so that we can see life clearly as it is. So many people, you see that they fool themselves. They don't really want to know the truth, because what they want instead is their preconceived notions. Many years ago, when I lived full-time at Ananda Village, I served as the community manager there. And I had many duties, very broad job description, but one of the duties was I was in charge of working with the members of the community. There was 200-300 people there, and at that time we had about 100 children in the community. And so consequently, it was when something would happen in the community and that perhaps was the cause or the fault of one of the children, somebody would come to me and they would complain, little so and so had done such and such, or and now usually these things I would not bother with, and people would work it out for themselves. But sometimes when the kids became a little bit older, maybe they became teenagers, they get into mischief, and they would do things that really needed to be addressed. And perhaps they'd vandalize something, or maybe they'd even steal a little something, or something like that. They'd be naughty in a higher degree. So I would have to deal with that, and it was I have, looking back, it was probably one of my worst jobs, part of the jobs, having to go talk to the parents about little Timmy or Johnny or Rahul. So I would go and I'd talk to the parents, and the parents would say, and I have to say it was most usually the mothers, would say, "Oh no, that can't be true. Little Rahul, he's honest and he would never do such a thing." And of course, when I was saying this to them, my eyes would sort of roll because because little Rahul happened to sometimes be a holy terror, and but in the presence of the parents would just see him as just their perfect little darling. And now that was sweet. I mean, it was sweet in that way. And of course, the mother and the father, they see the best in the child. And they bring out the best by seeing the best. But nevertheless, the fact was that child sometimes would get into mischief. And oftentimes, the parents would not even be able to acknowledge. And I would say, you know what? And so let's ask little Rahul what he did. And little fellow would say, "Absolutely not. I didn't do that." And I knew that child, and that child knew I knew that what was really the case was lying through his teeth. And the parent would be so proud, say, "He never lies to me." Now, some of you, I suspect, are parents out there, and does this have any ring in your life of sometimes what happens? It's we want to see life in a certain way, and there's an unwillingness to confront something when it's not in conformance of what we would like to see in life. We have these preconceived notions, or when those notions are threatened, we don't want to recognize it. We're not seeing life as what is right before us, or perhaps before we can see it, we have to admit to ourselves that maybe there's another possibility here, and to be open to at least investigate that, to be able to think, is this happening or is this not happening? Paramahansa Yogananda would tell this story when he was in the early days in America about there's a religious discipline, or religion, you might say, of Christian scientist religion, in which they believe very firmly in the power of affirmation and not taking medicines, but using the power of the mind to cure oneself, which I endorse. Actually, it's a good thing. The power of the mind is very strong in that way, but it has to be kept into balance. And there was the story that Yogananda would like to say was that the Christian scientist said to a man who was suffering from some malady, and he was in great pain. And the Christian scientist said to him, he says, "Oh, you're not in pain. It's all in your mind." Well, of course it was all in his mind, but he was still in pain. And so the other fellow became quite annoyed by this fellow, and he took off his shoe and hit the other guy over the top of the head. And the fellow goes, ouch, whoa, why did you do that? And he says, oh, it's simply all in your mind. It didn't happen. And you don't feel a thing. And this, of course, is sometimes reality is staring them in the face and they don't see it. Their house is burned down and it didn't burn down. Now there's two sides to this, two parts. One is what happened, the circumstances outside of ourselves, and the other part, which is perhaps more of the true part, is how we react to it. So your house is burned down, and to say you're unhappy or your life is ruined or life is terrible, that may not be the right attitude. And that's what the difference is between recognizing what is happening outside of ourselves and dealing with it appropriately and affirmation. Now, affirmation is not saying, when we affirm something, it's not saying that the house did not burn down. It's dealing with our response to the difficulties that come into life. Now, you may be sad, but you could say on a deeper level, I'm positive. I'm going to deal, I can deal with this, even though you may not totally feel that at the moment. On a higher level, you can affirm your response to whatever condition is outside, and you affirm the highest response. And that's what affirmation is, not to deny what is happening outside, not to deny what is. Swami Kriyananda had a saying that he had learned from another fellow who actually had had started a cooperative community similar to what we had at Ananda Village, have in Ananda Village. And when he went to visit him, he came back and he said, oh, I so much enjoyed my stay because this fellow taught him a phrase that Swami then started repeating many times. And this is, when something is happening, we need to open our eyes and ask the question, what is trying to happen here? What is trying to happen? Oftentimes we look at our life and their circumstances and we can feel that we don't understand what the situation, you know that underneath what we perceive, a message perhaps might be there. There might be something we could learn for it, but we can't understand it yet. And we ask ourselves, what is trying to happen? And if we go within, we meditate, we try to feel, we try to awaken our intuition to be able to perceive reality as it is with wisdom. Now, this comes from experience, of course. Things have happened in the past. We look back, what did I learn in the school of life? What have I learned? What is the life around me trying to tell me? We see in some people's lives, they go through life and experience, and something happens again and again and again to them. They have a pattern in their life, and it repeats itself. Well, there might be a lesson there. Why are we attracting that circumstance to us again and again and again? Perhaps it's something within ourselves, magnetically attracting it. If we see that, the wise person would introspect and perhaps change whatever it is, or put aside that pattern for now and do something positive that might counteract that. I remember reading a definition of the word insanity. Insanity is to do something, the exact same thing, over and over and over again, each time expecting a different result. Well, I think many people are insane in this life. This is how they go about their life, and they don't observe and think, what is trying to happen here? And then adjusting appropriately. Now, what is that appropriate adjustment? Swami Kriyananda gave a good piece of advice for this. He says, in life, we have to learn our lesson from life and respond appropriately. And if that doesn't work, we try something else, But we act or we choose the response to what happens in life by what works. What works in life? We may theoretically think this is the answer, and sometimes it's good to start with a theory. We have to start somewhere, so we have a theory, but theory must be tested. Isn't that the nature of science? We have to test our theories in the cold light of day. And we see this works, that works, this doesn't work. And that's how we gain the wisdom. And that's how we learn our lessons in life. We're in the school of life that is the laboratory in which we are testing ourselves. Now, Swamiji he was a very practical man. He had ideals. His ideals were transcendental in some cases, and they were very far advanced. But yet, when you could say the rubber hit the road, he was very practical. What works and what is going to work today may not be what's going to work tomorrow. But do what works, learn from it, and then take the next step. Learn again, open ourselves to intuitive guidance, draw the divine presence into our lives to inform that guidance into the right direction. Now, we're students, and at the same time, we're teachers as well. In a sense, not formally so much, I don't mean it in that way, but we're teachers in the sense that we serve as examples for other people that are looking to us. As we grow up, the next generation looking at us looks to us, or we've learned a lesson and we want to share it from somebody else. And this is how Swami approached his, you could say, teaching in life. He was never considered himself a teacher. What he was doing, in his own words, was sharing. He liked to share that which he learned with other people. But sharing is something that can only be offered to other people. He never imposed his ideas upon another. If a person was interested, he was willing to share. That willingness to share not just material things, but to share those finer things and to share one's inspiration, to share one's perceptions. This is the mark of a refined person, a person that is always wanting to expand their sympathies to others. But you cannot impose those sympathies, or you cannot impose your ideas on others. And Swamiji was never like that. That was there. He was open. He was willing to those who asked. And as students, we have a duty, you could say, to be a good student, to listen. But before we can listen, we have to ask. Isn't that true? We have to ask a question in order for the answer to come to us. And so if we want to be a good student in life, let's be like what Swami wanted to be as his goal in life, to be a good disciple. Let's try to be a good disciple. Let's try to be a good student in this case, let's say. Be a student of life. Be a student of truth. Ask of life. How can I know truth? How can I know truth? And then be open. Keep ourselves open to receiving and listening to what the answer might be. This is, when we go each day into our sadhana, is what meditation is about. It's meditation is we close the eyes, we look up into the spiritual eye, and we ask, Divine Lord, Divine Mother, come to me. I want to know Thee. I want to know. And so ask, project that from your spiritual eye out, that appeal for God and the gurus and the great ones to come to you. And then listen in the heart here. And the heart is this is the spiritualized, the broadcasting station. The heart is the receiving station. And then listen in the second half of your meditation. Just feel the divine response. And then your meditation is not over when you open your eyes. Then get up from it. Hold on to that response for as long as you can and go about your day and try to act in accordance to the best of your ability. Try to act and put into practice that which you received in your meditation. And this way, if you can hold on to that inspiration during the day, your intuition will begin to grow. Intuition is the direct fruit of meditation. And it's that intuition that will guide you. And that intuition will help you to perceive what is true in life and what is not. Many blessings to you, and thank you for joining us.